So, I just talked a lot about who Carbine is and how we do things. So now we're going to basically get into the game here. We're going to show you what we've been working on over the past 4 years. For the purposes of the demo here, when you play here at Gamescom, we have paired together race and class. This is not how it will be in the game, but we figured we wanted to simplify the process, get people into the game quickly. So we'll go through the races real quick, and then we'll talk a bit about the classes. So basically, these 3 races are from the Exiles. Okay, that's one of our factions. The big stone guy here on the left, that's a Granok. The Granok are a race of intergalactic mercenaries, right? They're the toughest guys in the galaxy. These are humans. Humans were one of the first races to ever rebel against the Dominion. Okay, the Dominion is our other faction. And on the right here we have the Orin, and the Orin are a fierce race of forest dwellers, but their planet has been overrun and invaded by the Dominion, and so they see Nexus as sort of their last hope to have a new world. We're going to pick the human, and like I said, right, since we pair race and class, humans for Gamescom Wildstar will be spell slingers. Okay, a spell slinger is sort of a combination gunslinger and magic user. Okay, we think it sort of has the best elements of both fantasy and science fiction. It's a pretty cool class. This page sort of describes some of their mechanics. You can read it if you're the kind of person that wants to get into it. These are constantly evolving, but feel free to take a look if it's your thing. The next thing that we'll choose is our path. We have 4 paths. Only 2 of them are available to play here at Gamescom. First path is the soldier. We talked about him early in the presentation. We're going to choose the explorer for the purposes of the presentation. We talked about it a little bit. Explorer's specific mechanic is the locator. This is what some of the UIs look like. It's basically your compass here on Nexus. It's going to tell us some cool places to go. All right, so we've got a human spell slinger explorer. We're going to jump into the game.
We got another one here. Don't look. Somebody give me the set. Clear. Come on. We're gonna make it. Hear me? We're gonna make it. Clear. Need to leave. There'll be others that need my attention.
Okay, quick recap. You're one of the Exiles. You were coming to Nexus to make a new home, but as your ship arrives in orbit, it's shot down by the Dominion, the other faction. And you guys crash land in a zone that we call the Northern Wilds. Now what you'll notice almost immediately is there's this tower, this ancient Elden tower that's here in the background, and it's creating this storm that you see sort of raging around you. The survivors of this crash won't survive if you don't figure out a way to turn off that tower and stop the storm. First order of business, this is the story content that we're talking about. This is sort of the context for the zone, what you'll be doing. We've got a player path here, explorer content on the right, that's who Doug's talking to. This other guy here is a story content guy, but we're going to pass him by to show you one of the cool features of Wildstar. So you'll notice down here in the right-hand corner, Doug just got a phone call, okay? This is what we call the Datacron. It's basically your cell phone here on Nexus, Yes, it's the future. People can call each other, all right? And we think this is one of the coolest things about Wildstar because it allows us to deliver content to you dynamically in the world at any point. Okay, we're going to show you a little combat here. All right, you'll notice right away, there's that threat indicator that we were talking about, right? So Doug evaded out of it. That put the Yeti in a weakened state, and Doug was able to kill him. You'll notice up here, Doug got a bonus, an evasion bonus for doing that, okay? Let's take out another guy. We'll show you a different way that you can react to these Yeti. So instead of evading, Doug used one of his interrupt spells, right? And he was also rewarded for doing that. This is yet another layer, right? We like to reward the player for the things that they do. Okay, so Doug picked an explorer. He's going to use his locator here in a second to kind of tell him what he's supposed to do. So that arrow there is telling Doug, hey, there's something at the top of this hill that you should probably go check out. Unfortunately, the ship crash has knocked loose some snow, and so there's these avalanches coming down that Doug will need to avoid as he runs up the hill. You know, we do have things like sprint that will help people like explorers get past some of these challenges. We have a double jump that will allow you to get places not other players can go. Over here on the right, this is an example of found content or spontaneous quests. It's a single-click quest, but if you're paying attention, you're out in the world and you're adventuring, it's a way that you can get rewarded. All right, Doug, let's see if we're close. Yep, looks like we're there. You'll notice here, we're in the green. Doug places his beacon. He's going to get rewarded. And we move on. Now in this particular case, Doug's content here, he was supposed to send out a distress signal, right? We've just had a crash landing here, and so he's calling in some people to help out. Unfortunately, what happened there is they said that the signal can't get through because the tower is interfering, so we're going to have to figure out a way to turn off that tower. Okay. Now, you can't do this in the game, but we're going to switch up our path here, right? And we're going to give you a little example of what soldier content might be like. All right, now this is an example of what we call a horde holdout, okay? So this is where the soldier plants his flag, you know, and defends his territory against all comers. In this particular case, these hostile Yeti, right? What you'll notice right away is these encounters are different than the ones that we saw further up the hill. Now instead of a single Yeti, now you're getting multiple Yeti. And so Doug is going to have to use his abilities, his crowd control abilities, his AoEs in order to take them out. The Spellslinger is a very cool class. It has some dynamic movement abilities that Doug can show you as he's fighting through these guys. You may notice you've got what we call a soldier mentor who's talking you through this battle. He's a guy that will be with you throughout the game, sort of inspiring you and telling you how well you're doing in these particular encounters. We think it's kind of a cool layer of content that adds flavor and makes the experience more compelling. All right, so Doug has gotten to the end of the encounter. This is the Frost Giant. He looks different, he plays different. You notice now he's putting threat indicators at range instead of close up, so Doug will have to use everything he's learned in the encounters up to this point and able to defeat this enemy. And he's not doing very well. All right. I guess you did all right, Doug. So he finishes the encounter, he's rewarded for doing it, and then the adventure continues. So normally, you know, you guys will probably play this later on. You'd go through an entire quest, sort of an epic quest line to figure out how the tower works and turn it off. We're going to skip right to the end of that to show you sort of another kind of reward that we have in Wildstar. So this is a cinematic. We'll show you a little bit later on. You can escape out of that if you want. If you're the kind of player that doesn't get into that, you don't have to watch it. But it is a way that we say, hey, you did a good job, you did something cool, we're going to reward you with a cool little moment like that. The other cool part of this particular quest line is once you turn the tower off, now the storm is gone, right? The skies are clear, the environment has changed. We think that's sort of some powerful technology, right, that we have at our disposal to tell some cool stories and reward the player for what they've done. All right, so we showed a little combat. We showed you a cinematic moment there. Now we're going to go give you an example of the layered content and some of the momentum mechanics that we talked about earlier. All right, so Doug has a quest to come out here and kill these root brutes, right? But what he finds is a discovery. This is an example of one of the discoveries that we were talking about earlier. This kind of stuff will be littered all over the world, and it will always be in different places. It's dynamically generated. It might be something as simple as a chest, or it could be an entrance to an instance, something like that. So Doug is going to get into some combat here, and you'll notice right away he killed this creature. Now here's a challenge. This is the challenge that we were talking about earlier. And it's basically saying, hey, you're pretty good at killing these root brutes. Can you kill a certain number of them in a certain amount of time? So Doug has decided that he is going to engage in this challenge, and now he's going to take on 2 creatures at once, okay? So, you know, again, he's getting rewarded for the quest he has, and he's getting rewarded for the challenge. And because he's taking on multiple enemies, he's going to be rewarded for doing that. You'll notice right there, he got a double kill XP, right? That means that he got rewarded for killing those creatures in a certain amount of time really quickly. We think that's super important to reward the player for the specific things that they do. Here's a quick example of the ecology we were talking about, right? Yetis and root brutes, they don't get along. If you're the kind of player who can take advantage of that situation, so be it. This is our map, okay? It's kind of a cool feature. You'll notice this dotted red line, that's actually telling you where you've gone, right? The places that you've been in the zone. It has quest objectives, so you can kind of figure out what's coming up next and how to get there. It's one of my favorite features. I think it's super cool. Okay. So, you've called in the rescue ships, you've saved the settlers, so now we're going to guide them in. Doug's going to set off some signal flares, and we're going to watch the rescue ship show up.
We see your signal flares. Heading in for landing.
So, again, a cinematic moment, but let's say you're the kind of player that doesn't like to watch cinematics. So just escape out, right? Doug can run around, look at it from whatever vantage point he wants. This is happening in the real world, right? So you don't have to sit there and watch it. Again, this is an example of we just want players to do the things they like to do. If you want a cool vantage point, we'll give it to you. If not, go do whatever you want and be rewarded. So here we go. Doug's the hero. Good job, Doug. Oh. Looks like there could be a problem. So, again, a dramatic moment, right? Sometimes those moments aren't exactly what the player expects, but we think it's important to give them to them nonetheless.